Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're finally here. Leg 4 of the UK to USA trip. Better late than never. Never. So today we're going from Narsarsuaq in Greenland to Goose Bay in northern Canada. Should take roughly around 5 hours, should we say? Obviously, we'll go through the paperwork and double check everything. As you see, it's quite cold. Check the weather this morning here, and it was snowing all morning. So, as you can see, there is, with the new update in Flight Sim, there is actually live snow now. So, we have snow on the ground. So, we'll get up the paperwork, and we can start having a look through that. So, a quick briefing under the route. We're going from Narsarsuaq to Goose International, I suppose is the correct term for it, and DA62. Looking at the weather, it's actually a very nice day. It's one of the reasons it's taken so long to get to this point of being able to do this, is the weather has been just terrible, and obviously we had Christmas. But it's actually we've got no fronts or anything to worry about. If even down to the pressure, it's pretty equal the entire way. Looking at the grommet, it should again confirms what we looked at. Should be a lovely clear route. Should miss all this icing and all this cloud over the sea. There's no significant weather en route. Looking at the current weather, so let's have a look. What have we got here? So it's actually a few hours old now. 10:50, variable at 1 knot, light snow. 11:50, 2000 at 3, few at 2000, broken at 3200, broken at 4200, -2. So yeah, might hit a little bit of cloud on the way up. Nothing major though. The big one's obviously going to be Goose Bay. So if we say it's going to be about what's that, 18:30ish UTC that we're going to get in if we look at the forecast. So between 12 midday today, 12 midday tomorrow UTC, variable at 3 knots, 6 statutory miles, overcast at 1200. So a little bit cloud on the approach, but they've got instrument approaches in Goose Bay, so that shouldn't be an issue. Looking at the mass imbalance then, we have we're well within the mass imbalance limits. Taking full fuel. In terms of fuel, we need a minimum of 69.8 US gallons. To be honest, we're just going to fill the tanks. We've got enough play with the weight. We'll take full tanks. Should something happen, should the weather not be exactly what it says it is, we're absolutely fine, especially with a little bit of low cloud around as well when we get there. These graphs just show us our sort of time versus distance fuel for the climb. Same with the descent as well. ATC addressing, not obviously going to be an issue. Not nothing that we need to worry about really with a flight sim. Same with the NOTAMs. To be honest, I mean obviously COVID-19. Real life, we couldn't do this flight now, nor would you want to do it in the middle of winter. But again, it's a sim. We don't worry about that. The only thing we're really looking for, which is good, which would affect us in the sim, is snow tams. If there's quite heavy snow on the ground or whatever, and it hasn't been cleared, that's something we could potentially be an issue. But there's absolutely nothing there whatsoever. So let's head back into the sim. Let's get set up and going. So we're back here in the DA62 from Diamond. Lovely aircraft. So we'll start with the check before engine start checklist. The pre-flight check would have been completed. Baggage and tow bar secured. The aux pumps are both off. The aux power switch, which is up here, is off. Fuel selectors can both go on. And the guards closed. Power levers are both at idle. Parking brake is set. Gear selector is down. Pitot heat's off. Avionic master's off. Electric master is off. Fuel pumps are both off. Engine masters are off. Alternate static is closed, and the alternators are on. Anti-ice is all off. Light switches are off, and circuit breakers are all in. Flap selector is up. And finally, the electric master can go on. So, going to the checklist, all that can be done from memory up to this point, and from here we would have to follow the actual checklist. So flight controls, we'll just make sure those work. So we got full forward, full back, full left, full right, and the rudders are centered, full left, centered, full right, and centered. Next is the flaps. We want to check and make sure the flaps go all the way down and all the way back up again. Hello, Miss Ginger Squid. That's fine, having between me and Dan. I saw that Dan was on. He typically jumped on like 10. I was getting all this set up, and it came up that Dan was online. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to block your stream, but oh well. Right, flaps back up. Trims are checked. They're neutral. Okay, the de-ice enunciation test. So we've got the 3 lights on there, and the enunciations, we've got de-ice pressure low, de-ice pressure high, de-ice level low. Exactly what we expect. Hopefully we won't need to use the de-icing too much, because the aircraft has been de-iced prior to setting off. Passengers instructed. Well, it's just me on here today. In fact, I never even checked the fuel. Let's just check to make sure the fuel was... See, the fuel wasn't at 100%. Now it is. That could have been an issue, couldn't it? We would have obviously seen that as soon as we got open up the other one. The other screen there, the MFD. Okay, all doors are closed. The MFD G1000 is powered and acknowledged. The route's already pre-populated in there. So we'll bring up the engine and fuel page. There we go. Fuel quantity. Now let's check this. We should have full tanks. So that's 50 gallons in the main tanks and 36 gallons in the auxiliary tanks, which is correct. 86.4 gallons on board. Exactly what we expect. Fuel temperature. We check that. -2 degrees. That's fine. It uses diesel in this, or Jet A1, which is jet fuel. Where are we? Total time in service 25.9 hours is noted. New aircraft. MFD to the system page. From here we make sure the levers are idle. Turn the strobes on, and we can start the engines. So we start by putting the left master on. That comes up telling us about the oil pressure, which is fine. We know there's no oil pressure, the engine's not running. And the glow on. Once that glow goes out, which it has, we start the engine. That's spinning. We immediately come over here and we check on the engine page the oil pressure, make sure that has risen. Idling, nice and nice idle speed there. All the other temperatures are starting to rise, which is exactly what we want. So we do the same with the right. Master goes on, oil pressure and glow. Check to make sure there isn't any other warnings that come up that we haven't spotted. Wait for the glow to go out. Hold the starter button. Oil pressure's risen. It's idling nice. All the other temperatures are rising. Perfect. So after the engine start then, is check the oil pressure, which we've done. Check the RPM, should be between 710 RPM plus or minus 30. We've got 720, so that's fine, that's within that limit. Kieran will also be on later, brilliant. Crossover will always happen. I'm good, thank you, Ginger Squid, how are you? Okay, so the fuel selectors, we drop these down to crossfeed. Hopefully we'll never need to use that in flight, but if we did, we want to make sure that it works and that the engines aren't going to stutter and cut out. I'd rather them stutter and cut out on the ground, to be honest. Meanwhile, we put the pitot heat on, and we can check for the annunciation and make sure the amps actually go up. That's how we know it's working. So look where the amps are now. We turn the pitot heat on. Slight rise, and the annunciation's disappeared. Do the same, turning it off. It's gone. We've got the annunciation back. Check there's no other warnings that have popped up. Sorry, my phone's just going off there. So, pitot heat's off. Next is the avionics master. We turn that on. And the weather radar we can check. So we just make sure that, where is it? That the weather radar works. So we go to map. Next rad. Obviously it's hard to tell because it's clear skies. There we go, we can see around us it is working. Next is the FMS setup. There's not really too much to set up. The flight plan's already in there. The radios we can tune to ground, which it's already done for us. The performance, we can set the bugs. So we want the only one really we want on there is VR. That's all fine. That's all in there as we expect. Good. I'm glad you're all good. Hope you all end up enjoying the flight. It's gonna be a long day again, nearly 5 hours, but there's not even that much to see. It's gonna be mainly ocean. I'm not gonna lie. But after today, we're into Canada, which means from there on, it's down to New York. It's all over land, which kind of more relaxing. Okay, so the autopilot test. We check the disconnect works, which it does. And that's really all we can do. Turn the flight director off, which it is off. Floodlight, we'll turn that on, make sure that's working. Position lights, they can go on. Fuel selectors now go both back to on. The altimeters are set. Obviously there's no ATIS here, but we'd normally get that. We'd just phone up ATC. We're not phone up. We'd contact ATC and just grab the weather from them, rather than it being an automated system. The standby attitude module is set. That's reading correct. Transponder, we check the code. Engine temps checked, and then we're ready for taxi. So to get the code that we need for the transponder, we need to get our clearance.
Night flight 001 IFR to Goose Bay, ready to copy. Night flight 001 is cleared to Goose Bay Airport as filed. Take off runway 6 climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Departure frequency is 121.3 squawk 0472. Night flight 001 cleared to Goose Bay Airport as filed. Take off runway 6 climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Departure on 121.3 squawk 0472.
There we go, 0472. And we're climbing initially to 14,000 feet. So everything in there is set up how we want. You can request taxi.
Ready to taxi IFR. Night flight 001 taxi to and hold short of runway 6 via taxiway. Contact tower on 119.1 when ready. Taxi to and hold short runway 6 via taxiway night flight 00.
It's a very, very short taxi here. It's a very little airport actually. It's mainly just used purely for these sort of transatlantic flights, just to stop off at. What I'm going to do is the ECUs here is a little part of this mod. If we put the ECUs to A rather than B, we have full fade control, because it's only a sort of like it's in beta at the moment really, the fade control, but it's what we want. Basically it will automatically adjust the fuel for us on the climb. So as we go up and the air gets thinner, we have less air in the engine. It also reduces the fuel. It's more like the real aircraft then. I'm pretty much already at the holding point. We'll just check to make sure everything works correct. So we go full right and we see that the compass is increasing. We go full left. Compass is decreasing. Same with the DI. the artificial horizon is staying level. So we've had a little message just pop up here on the PFD, just telling us basically that we have fader control turned on. So we're going to stop at the line here. I'm not going to request takeoff just yet. We've got our before takeoff checklist to do. So we set the parking brake. Safety harnesses are fastened. Adjustable backrests are upright. Doors are closed. Baggage doors are closed with enunciations out, which they are. Circuit breakers, we just double check they're all in, which they are. Electric elevator trim, we make sure we've got takeoff set, which it is. Fuel selectors, we make sure those are both set to on. Rudder trim as required, I'm going to leave that in the centre. Flaps for a standard takeoff. We go flaps to takeoff. Power levers are idle. MFD we set to system, which it is, and we check the engine instruments. Everything is in the green that we want it to be. Fuel temp, coolant temp, oil pressure is actually just on the low side of the green, but that's fine because we're idling. Oil temps, everything's in the green. Next we need to do the ECU test as part of the DA62X mod that I have. So the ECU test then, it's a bit like the real aircraft. This is, rather than doing a full sort of power up, check the mags like you would on an older aircraft, this basically does everything for you. So what we do, the ECU test buttons, we do one at a time. So we'll start with the left-hand engine. We hold the button. The enunciation should come up. It will rev all the way up. It will check to make sure it can feather the props. And then it will idle, and the enunciations go out. So we do the same with the right-hand engine. So it revs it up, it feathers them, closes the throttle, and idles. Enunciations go out, perfect. Make sure we've had no other messages come up. The ECU test then is performed. Pitot heat, we'll knock that on now. It's quite old. It's quite cold outside. Ice protection. It looks quite like it's quite snowy still on the runway. So just until we get in the air, I am going to put the ice on to normal, just to make sure we don't pick anything up. Fuel pumps can both go on, and then we're good to go. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the transponder to out reading. So we are now good to go. Everything's reading as it should. We're on runway 6. Normally, I would just take off from the intersection here, given it's quite icy and it might take us a little while to get up to temperature. I think I'm going to go all the way up to the end and do a U-turn. We can backtrack up the runway.
Tower Night Flight 001 ready for IFR departure runway.
If we have to stop, I want to make sure I've got enough runway left that if we start to slide, we're fine.
Cleared for
Okay.
takeoff runway 6 Night Flight 001.
We're good to go. Let's get the landing light on. Release the brakes. And very, very slowly on this ice, we taxi out. So there we go, 20 past 1, and we were pretty much already on the takeoff. And it's runway 6, so even though that's telling us to turn to the right, which it would do for runway 6, I'm going to go left initially. It's a very, very icy runway. There's no other traffic around. We had nothing on the radio. ATC haven't warned us of anything. in reality we'd also ask for the backtrack to ATC, so they're aware what we're doing, because at the moment ATC, if we hadn't told ATC what we're doing, there's a little bit of a chance they'd be panicking, thinking we're taking off the wrong way. There we are. So we'll just spin this around. Get lined up and we are clear to take off. So let's start the timer. Set full power. Check we are on runway 6, make sure the DI and the compass aligns, which it does. There's our rotation speed. We pitch up, nice and gently. I'm going to delay putting the gear down just yet. Play gear up even. Just because if we did have an issue, we could still land on the runway. However, now we are out of runway, so the gear can go up. Be mindful of those hills over there. Okay, let's get the flaps up.
Night flight 001, contact center on 121.3.
Bring the power back to about 95%.
.3 for night flight 001. Center night flight 001 is at 1,200 feet, climbing 14,000 feet.
Okay, obviously we do need to turn, but I'm not going to turn just yet. Not till we are well above all these hills.
Altimeter tree 0.39er.
3039 is what we got set. Might as well set the flight director. Right. Let's start the turn. Start a nice gentle turn to the right. Still in the climb. I don't really want to go left. The hills are a little bit taller to the left. Maybe want about maybe 15 degrees of bank. Just in the climb. I say that and then go well past it, but ignoring that bit. Get a little bit of an intercept heading on. not too much because we're not that far off track. Maybe a little bit more. We'll turn nav mode on as well with the flight director. Trim is so sensitive in this aircraft.
Engaging autopilot.
There we go, let the autopilot do it. Let it take control. So we'll do our climb to cruise check. So the gear we've checked is up and the lights are out. The flaps are up and the light is indicating up. Fuel pumps can go off and the landing light can go off. And then that's it. We're good to go. So we're just turned back over the airport now. Turning back on track. Directly above where we started. We'll sink the head in. Okay, for some reason the heading is 180 degrees off, so we'll do that manually. So our first waypoint is to 5950 north. For those of you interested, I believe the first waypoint is actually .59 north, 050 west. We're on track, got a nice little bit of tailwind at the moment. I think that is going to swing around as we get higher up, but and now we can enjoy the climb out of Greenland. And despite the fact this is part of the... We've turned the de-icing off as well. Despite the fact this is part of the world where obviously there isn't any aerial photography particularly, so you look on Bing Maps or anything like that, Google Maps, it is pretty crap looking. As we saw last time on the descent in, it's definitely PlayStation 2 graphics. However, once you're actually up in the air, that view is still pretty stunning, no doubt about it. So where are we in the climb at the moment? 8,500 feet. This Ginger Squid says, you're over Canada. Not quite. We're over Greenland still at the moment. We're heading towards Canada. But yeah, this at the moment is all Greenland. In fact, if I go to an outside view... It's pretty stunning, isn't it? You have to admit. There's the airport behind us that we left. It's a beautiful part of the world. So we've got 1,000 feet to go till we reach the 14,000 feet that we're cleared to. There we are, just starting to level out. What we'll do now is just bring the... Oh, there we go.
Climb and maintain flight level 180, night flight 001.
Climb and maintain flight level 180, so let's set 180 in the altitude window. We can start climbing back up again. 96 knots. And we're climbing to a flight level, so what we need to do is our barometric pressure we need to set to 2992 for standard pressure. The same applies down here. 2992. We are now clear to a flight level, so there we go. We let that climb. It is gorgeous, Ginger Squid. It is absolutely beautiful out there. Bloody cold, like. I mean, at the moment it's minus 21 degrees Celsius. I think it was about minus 3 on the ground. But it is lovely. It's so nice as well now that they've... part of the last update for Flight Sim was the real-time snow and ice. So, yeah, that's why now everything is very... Rather than last time where it was, you know, in the middle of winter, it's still green hills. Here now, we have got proper ice and proper snow everywhere. there we are, we've levelled off at flight level 180. Our speed's increasing nicely. So we'll bring this back now to about 85%. A little bit of turbulence around. So 18,000 feet, we're looking for about 15.7 gallons per hour on the fuel. What we're using currently. A little bit much, we're a little bit high actually, should be more like 80% really, going back to that. Let the fuel adjust, what's that now? 15.8, exactly what we expect. So now we just chill here. There is quite a bit of turbulence, so let's see if we can go up. This thing can do flight level 200, so let's see if we can do it. Let's see if this will take us to 200.
Center night flight 00.
It is the absolute maximum this aircraft can do.
Night flight 001 climb and maintain flight level 200.
Climb and maintain flight level 200.
There we go, so we've got 200 set. Let's turn speed hold on. Let's decrease this back down to about 93 knots. Well, about 96 actually. I said about 95%. Which it obviously won't do. So at 200, we're looking to bring the power back to about 75%. And we're expecting around 14.8 gallons per hour. Hopefully this will get us above that layer of turbulence. $400 feet to go. Starting to level off. It's struggling. It is struggling, isn't it, to get there. We have got that 37 knot headwind as well. About 75% power, and we are using 14.8, exactly what we should be. It's a little bit smoother up here as well. Well above the weather. Obviously the oxygen's turned on. We don't want to be low on oxygen right now. There we go. So let's have a look. We've got 160 miles before we reach our first waypoint, which is 59 north, 050 west. We're on track. Ground speed, so we're at 20,000 feet. We've got a ground speed of 152 knots, 153. So what's that? That's around 170 miles an hour at the moment. And estimated time for this entire flight is still dropping as we're speeding up, obviously. 204, so we say 240 minutes-ish. It's like a nice round number, isn't it? 4 hours. 4 hours from now, it's not too bad at all, really. So nice view outside, so we can see the well, a little bit of the ground we can. PS3 Wii 360 Master 2. Thank you very much for the follow. You say Reddit gang coming through. Follow. Thank you, ma'am. I'll make sure I follow you back. Don't you worry. How you doing anyway? So currently then, we've just left Greenland, we've just gone over the last sort of little bit of islands on the edge there. What's our What's our ground speed at the moment? For some reason, my overlay, just noticed, my overlay's telling us we're doing 89 knots ground speed. I don't think that's entirely right. We're doing 163. I think something somewhere is getting a little bit messed up, you know. Fuel's still looking good. T's and P's are all in the green. Fuel temp's a little bit low, but still in the green. I mean, it is minus 34 degrees C outside at the moment. I'm not really sure what's happened here. My overlay's also just has disappeared, hasn't it? See if we can get that back. Because, yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on at the moment. My stream has also gone a little bit weird. I'm dropping frames like crazy. There we go, the ground speed's correct now. $17.39 Zulu. Not a bad time. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with it. It keeps crashing, doesn't it? I have to just quickly restart the stream, which is a pain, but I don't think I've got much choice because I am dropping frames like crazy. Oh, hang on a minute. Has it fixed itself? No, it hasn't.